Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines. China joins BIS and the XRP Ledger. BRICS dead or alive, and Ripple tap $5 trillion market. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.96 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 1.1%. We're knocking on $4 trillion's door again. What will it be at the end of the year? Well, we're going to talk about that and so much more today. Bitcoin 111,000 plus, Ethereum 4,300 plus, XRP 295 at the number 3 spot again. Now we're up 4.1 in the 24 hours. And we're up 6.0 on the 7-day. Look at the range of price here. Range between 284 and 295. So we're at the top side of that range. Look alive out here, ladies and gentlemen, for more reasons than one. Look, France has emerged as a front line in the fight against crypto-driven abductions, with police mounting large-scale raids to rescue victims and dismantle gangs using digital assets as instant ransom payments. You know, whether it's, worrying about some kind of abduction, kidnapping, or whether you're just worried about a general scam, clicking on the wrong thing, getting SIM cards swapped. Listen, you can help protect yourself. You want to do the things in before they happen, right? You want to make those moves. Now, you guys know the platforms I keep my crypto on, I feel extremely safe. And this is one of them. This is iTrustCapital. And all you got to do is go to itrustcapital.com/XRPArmy and start protecting yourself. Because look, here's the deal. This premium custody account that they've come out with, first of all, if you're not using the IRAs for crypto, gold, and silver, they're the best in the business. So what are you waiting for? Power move to roll your 401k over into that before this legislation passes. Not financial advice. But when I look at the premium custody account, they've gone a step further. They want to allow you general access to a standard account, but give you the kind of protection as if you're still in an IRA. And this is how they've gone about doing it here. And the way they do it is you get institutional grade custody, but it's with a closed loop system, meaning you go in with your cash and crypto. But when you come out, after you trade all the assets that you want to 24/7, when you come out, it has to come out as cash, and it can only come out directly to your US checking account. This is what they're doing to help protect you and give you peace of mind, so you don't have to worry about clicking on the wrong link. And if you did, the worst thing that could happen is that your crypto position gets sold and then moved to your checking account. You can obviously go right back in and reestablish that position. So this to me is like iTrust showing you just how much they try to think about how they can provide that extra protection for everybody out here in the market. And I absolutely love it. So I think you will too. Again, click the video right underneath the any video, click the first link, and then use XRP6. That's the code to use, and get started today. You're going to love it. All right, now let's take a look at this as we set the stage for the conversation today. Trump, over 17 trillion will be invested in America, but there's a part of this 31 seconds I really want you to hear. Take a listen.
But I'm really happy when you see almost $17 trillion will be invested in this country over the next few months, actually. We started from the day we came in. November 5th was a big day. It was Liberation Day in a lot of different ways. It's a lot of different forms of liberation. But what we really have is something that I don't think any country has ever had. We're going to have over 17 trillion, and that number is going to go much higher than that, invested in our country, and it's being invested right now as we speak. But I'm really happy when you see almost $17 trillion will be in.
And what did he say at the end here?
Country has ever had. We're going to have over 17 trillion, and that number is going to go much higher than that, invested in our country, and it's being invested right now as we speak. But I'm really...
And right now as we speak, well, what's interesting, that reminded me of something I will get to in just a second here. He's also talking about, well, I won't play all of this. I need a minute and a half, I think, of this. And just let me play this. And trust me, I'm going to take you somewhere today. I think it's all lining up.
And in a truly momentous act last March, I signed an executive order establishing the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, as well as the United States Digital Asset stockpile, and that's all signed up. And with today's signing, we're pushing even further into the exciting new frontier. Just as I promised last year, the Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes? If you say yes, I'm saying yes. I think it's great that you're involved, I will tell you. Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade.
There you have it, right? Upgrade. 17 trillion coming in, starting in the next few months. Okay. All right. Stay with me. And what else is happening in the next few months?
We did stablecoins first. The Genius Act passed. It's now law. And that provided the momentum we needed to do market structure. So the House passed a market structure bill. It's called the Clarity Act.
Right.
We in the Senate are going to mark up in the Senate Banking Committee a market structure bill in September. The Ag Committee will do theirs in October because they've got the commodities jurisdiction. The Senate Banking Committee has the securities jurisdiction. Then we'll fold them together with clarity and hopefully get this across the finish line by Thanksgiving or at the latest Christmas. We did stablecoins first.
There you have it. So there's Senator Lummis telling us we're going to get it in the next few months here. At the same time that the president's telling us that 17 trillion and more is about to start pouring in the next few months too. Is this all lining up for just me, or is it lining up for everybody else? And then Egrag Crypto showed us a chart here just a few days ago over the weekend and says, you know what? We could see a $21 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. We're currently just under 4 trillion. Well, 21 trillion is more than the 17 trillion, but nonetheless, it's up there right around the same conversation as President Trump talking about 17 trillion. And we know the majority of that 17 trillion is going towards innovation, AI, and blockchain. Let's not kid ourselves. Manufacturing, obviously, as well. But, you know, that's where this money's basically going. So this, to me, is pointing towards a very, very big next step that's really potentially just a few months away of watching the greatest explosion in the digital asset space in history. How about that? Think of it for a moment. Now let's listen to Cristiano Carlo, where he talks about the next steps in evolution of the internet. Come on in.
Yes, indeed. You know, the first use of stable coins in the prior years was really for speculation and trading in crypto. But then it evolved into really becoming the entry point into all kinds of online transactions. But I think there's going to be other uses as well. We're already seeing the demand for dollar-based digital instruments replacing failed currencies in failed states. And the way that the dollar used to serve in its analog state is now much easier for people to upload to their mobile device. But it's not just going to be in failed jurisdictions in the world. It's also going to be in the developed world as well, where people are going to very quickly get used to having the ability to move money 24/7, 365 days a year with the same speed and efficiency that they can send photographs around the world. It is kind of strange that in today's world, you can send a communication, an email, a text message, or a photograph around the world in seconds, but it still takes days at tremendous expense to send money around the world. Well, stablecoins are going to address that. And then ultimately, they're going to go, as I mentioned, with direct automated transactions. Once you combine stablecoins with artificial intelligence and digital communications, this is really going to be, as I say, the next step in the evolution of the internet.
And that to me is where a lot of that 17 trillion that President Trump just talked about is going to come from and where it's going to go. And that's where I see Ripple and Hidden Road and the positions and the acquisitions that they've made, setting them up for great success. That's what I see taking place here. Then obviously, when I asked Christian Carlo at XRP Las Vegas 25, I'm only going to play a few seconds of this. Will we see U.S. Treasury issue digital asset bonds? And he says yes, on every level: state, municipal level, national level, corporate level. Listen.
Think when I introduced that idea, his tail was wagging. If we've ever had a president to do it, this is the one to do it.
Now, they're floating a lot of ideas, Chris, about how to acquire some of these digital assets. Are you hearing anything about the different suggestions on that? And there's obviously, I've talked about this. I know other people have floated the idea. Is it out of the realm of possibility to consider that there would be a new bond issuance of digital assets in the future? Not next Tuesday, but in the future.
Oh, I think it's more than a possibility. I think you're going to see it at multiple levels. I think you're going to see it at the corporate level. I think you'll see it at municipal levels. And I think ultimately you'll see it at the national level.
Listen, that is, at my house, that is billions and billions and billions of dollars coming in. And then Christian Carlo talks about the digital asset stockpile reserve. Listen to this.
Well, countries have been stockpiling commodities since the beginning of time. And today, major economies stockpile everything from soybeans to pork to copper, and of course, precious metals like gold and silver, and of course, energy materials such as petroleum. So stockpiling analog commodities, commodities that are natural commodities that come out of the ground, is very commonplace. What we're now talking about is stockpiling the world's first digital commodity, which is what Bitcoin is. And it's just really applying that same process of stockpiling natural commodities to now stockpiling digital commodities. So I don't find that far-fetched. Countries stockpile commodities for all sorts of reasons, both for domestic use, but also to control international prices. Countries stockpile gold to affect the world gold price. They stockpile petroleum to affect the world oil price. And doesn't surprise me that countries would seek, including the United States, to stockpile Bitcoin in order both to provide resources for domestic use, but more importantly, to affect global use and ultimately the price of this new digital commodity, Bitcoin.
And this is exactly the conversation I had with Christian Carlo on stage at XRP Las Vegas 25. We talked about this for XRP, Bitcoin, and other assets that were mentioned by the president. You know, this is exactly how I believe they will price control these things through a bond issuance, and then they will be able to collect the asset and they'll be able to release the asset when they need to, just like they control the oil price. Now, I have believed price controls in this manner since before I was ever in the YouTube land. I believed this since 2017 when I found this asset. It'd be the only way it could work and serve as a true bridge currency is to have those kind of mechanisms to keep the volatility under control while still allowing for a free market to move. Now, with that being said, remember the DTCC announcing they could tokenize $100 trillion worth of assets unilaterally without anyone's permission, and Hidden Road is signed up and has licensed approval to help them settle it all. Now, to keep things moving, because that adds liquidity to the network, and that gives them the ability, once they have tapped into that level of liquidity every day in clearing and settlement, then you could actually talk about using XRP as a bridge asset in a more broader geopolitical conversation, like mBridge. Cross-border project in China is advancing. Chinese banks conducting cross-border payments starting July. State-owned banks were involved, followed by non-state and regional banks by August, showing significant progress. Well, you know, that is right now in 25, you're seeing all of this. Well, as I go into that, let's just keep moving through this, because if you remember years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, We were talking about the connections here. China has partnered with the Bank of International Settlements to create mBridge, the digital payment system to completely bypass SWIFT and US banks. There you have it. That is what we're talking about. China and BRICS, ladies and gentlemen, bypassing SWIFT. Well, you know what? Listen to this. This is James Wallace, head of XRP Central Bank Engagement.
Technology that is with the XRP ledger, the token would be the CBDC, right? So the central bank would actually create their own token, a digital euro, digital dollar, whatever the market is, and that becomes the digital asset.
So that becomes a digital asset. Keep listening.
The native coin.
The native coin, yeah. Now, where XRP could come into play potentially is when you're looking at cross-border CBDC. So when you have a digital dollar and you have a digital, real, or digital pound, you obviously need to have some way to interact cross-border. Yeah. So I think the BIS call this a multi-CBDC model. One of the ideas is you use a sort of a neutral bridge currency to go from one to the other, similar to the model I explained earlier with our on-demand liquidity.
And there you have it. So that's him explaining that mBridge, at least one of the pilots, is in fact the XRP ledger. Write that down, right? And then you see this. This adds to the conversation and to the weight of the conversation. Kenya's plan to switch debt payments to China from US dollars to yuan is a win-win for South China. Oh, well, at the same time, what do we see? Ripple cracks into Africa, where Kenya is, right? With Chipper Cash, Valar, and Yellow Card. Ah, now we see. And also, mBridge is being looked at as one of the marriages between China and China now using the yuan with Kenya. This to me is where we're cracking open this market. And this is not a game. This is a $5 trillion market we're talking about here in Africa. $5 trillion market that real USD just got introduced to in the ledger as well. This is absolutely good news. And it reminds me of what we know is coming here, which is a grand economic reordering.
Have to have some kind of a grand global economic reordering.
And there you have it, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, and everything I just showed you. I don't know what it looks like to you, but to me, it looks like we are in the process of a grand economic reordering. And this is what our chart looks like while that's happening. Yeah. You know what I say? I triple dog dare you. Bring it. Right? Finishing or continuation of a throwback. If XRP can close above 294, which we are now, with conviction and push past the 33 small moving SMA moving average, it says here around 301, we'll start to see early signs that the bulls are in control. But we got to see that happen. Additionally, confirmatory signal would be a close above 307, which aligns with the 55 SMA. And then, of course, hitting 340 would be the ultimate go-go signal. So watch out for those targets. And nonetheless, after we hit those targets, I think $15, $22, and $40 really become serious conversations. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. We're going into the freedom zone, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to tackle 10 years worth of business lessons in 60 seconds. And it is no joke. I mean, there's a lot in this. You're going to love it. Listen, you could join us too. Great way to support the channel. Click the link underneath the video. And it's same price, same perks. You could join us YouTube or Patreon or on X, and you get all the daily videos with 0 Google ads and the extra content as well. So come on in.